Story 1. My wife and I are from a country with many virtues, but it is also very superficial and focused on academics. One test determines how your life would go. Like other parents, we pushed our children to succeed in school, as there were limited options otherwise. We never yelled at our children or did things other parents did, but we did enroll them in the same after-school tuition and focused on grades. Unlike many at their school, we didn't make enough money to send our children abroad to get a degree. This was our only chance for a good life for our children. Our daughter, now 25, was not very academically gifted. She failed her college entrance exam and refused to study for another year. Instead, she moved out. She works at a bar. She instituted no contact. She told us she didn't want us to talk to her or communicate in any way. She sent us an email. In the email, she told us not to contact her. We have 2 other children who were also explicitly named not to contact her. We told her that we missed her and would have welcomed her back with open arms at any point. But she said that we didn't care about her, and it proved we were narcissists. We were heartbroken, but we respected her decision. She didn't want to speak with us, and we just wanted her to be happy and live her life. She reached out after a few years and started talking to her mother, my wife. She said that she was upset we hadn't reached out to her. We proved yet again we were narcissists because we didn't care about her. Now I'm confused. She didn't want us to contact her, but she was upset we didn't. Were we supposed to try to contact her? All the resources said that we should have respected her decision. Am I the idiot for not reaching out to my daughter after she instituted no contact? Not the idiot, but it sounds like your daughter's intentions were not true to her word. It sounds like she was doing this to test you. It's not your fault for believing what she said. You can tell her how much you really wanted her in your lives and missed her, and wish she could have been clearer. Also, the true narcissist defining trait is ignoring their kid's request to go no contact. Yup, she probably hated that you guys were breathing over her, and that she wanted to have fun, but forgot everything comes with consequences if you want fun. Fun needs money, and not bar wage minimum money. I really dislike when people throw the word narcissist around when in a debate with anyone who disagrees with their point of view. There are also way too many videos out claiming to diagnose narcissism. It's almost the new word of the day. Everybody is a narcissist now. She's been watching too many TikToks instead of learning what narcissism actually is and looks like. I guess her lack of academic ability to understand and learn things any way other than superficially is showing loudly and clearly. I have zero time for people who play mind games and try to test others as she did with you. If you wanted, you could tell her that you did deeply want to reach out, but you were respecting her own very clear and forceful instructions that you were not to contact her. Personally, I wouldn't bother because she sounds selfish, flaky, and manipulative. The girl wanted no contact to see if you would all chase her, but now needs money. Screw her for being manipulative. Man, I disagree. I feel like there's essential information left out. I would place big money that their kid repeatedly told them what the issue was with the oldest daughter, and decided it wasn't important, dismissed their feelings, and is now trying to blame their child for not being satisfied with their lackluster and possibly neglectful parenting. You are the idiot. It sounds like your daughter has deeply tied her success in academics to how worthy she is of love from her parents. Maybe this is something that you instilled in her. I don't want to assume, but it does sort of sound that way from what you've written here. If that's not the case, that's not cool at all on your part. So when she failed, she saw herself as unlovable. But who wants to be unlovable? It was easier to break things off with you guys while she tried to find her value in self-love. Dude, you and your wife failed her as parents. My parents had a one-night stand, and I'm the result of that. The relationship with my mom has always been strained because she resents my dad for not being with her after they made me, something she's voiced on and off for my whole life. Even when our 18 male was like 5, I remember her ranting about how selfish my dad was for that. She engaged in parental alienation a lot over the years, but the courts never did anything, and my dad did try to fight against it in court. A few years later, my husband got with her husband Greg, and they had kids together. Greg is an idiot, an even bigger idiot than my mom, which I wasn't sure was possible for a while, but he has talked about my dad being girly and how he's worried dad will turn me gay. He and mom tried to sue for custody of me, stating they could give me a two-parent home, and Greg even tried to argue that he was a better dad to me than my dad was. They lost this battle, of course, but that was the kind of crap they do. Greg would get cranky when I told him he wasn't my dad and I wasn't gonna call him dad or pops. He said I should be calling him that, and I should want to be his son since he's such a man and he's with my mom. My dad was the parent I could vent to, and I never heard a bad word said about mom or Greg. He would never shame me for what I said. He wouldn't push his opinion on me. He would listen, and he would encourage me to write about it if I needed to. He tried to put me in therapy when I was 8, but my mom blocked it, and the courts were like, just leave it be since he's doing fine in school. Dad bought me a journal to help me write stuff out, and it helped. Greg found it in my bag one day, and he was so disgusted about a journal being for girls and not something you give to a son. So, I don't like mom or Greg, and I really don't spend any time with their kids, aka my half-siblings. I know the kids aren't to blame, but I try to spend as little time in that house as I can. My dad taught me a lot of life skills, and cooking is one of them. I also know how to sew up holes in clothes and stuff and do general DIY stuff. I'm a pretty good cook, and sometimes I cook for Dad or our extended family, though usually it's with Dad's help when others are over, because he says I'm a kid and shouldn't have to do it all. A few weeks ago, Greg decided to stalk my dad's Insta and saw posts Dad made about the food I cooked for us. Greg told my mom, and they were all kinds of angry that I never cooked at their house and never helped them with dinner or fed anyone there. They told me I should be doing that stuff for them too, and I said no. They wanted one good reason why, and I told them I would never cook for people I dislike, and that's them. Mom went on about how that was Dad's fault and Greg was yelling that I was disrespecting him in his own home. I told him to let me go home then, and they were like, no. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Lol at your mom trying and failing to baby trap your dad, and never realizing she's lucky he's not just in your life, he's a part of it. Are you gonna go no contact with them when you turn 18? By the way, you should point out Greg stalking your dad's Instagram is like a gossipy teenage girl. I'm unsure how to go about this. Ask Dad to look into it. But you're old enough to decide where you want to live. I'm sure a judge will take it into serious consideration after reading everything you wrote. Precisely what you need to tell to the judge. They are toxic people. Journals are not just for girls. As for mom, I do not agree with any woman who alienates their child from their father, unless serious abuse is taking place, and they have courts for that. I'm sorry you must deal with that nonsense they dish out. Just remember, this too shall pass. I wouldn't cook for them either. Neither would they appreciate you anyway. Good luck and hang in there. My 28 male sister Katie, 30, recently got engaged to her partner of 7 years. They haven't set a date, but are planning for something around fall or spring next year. For background, our mother passed away after years of health problems 6 years ago. Given how long she was sick, I'm pretty sure our dad grieved her before she was officially gone. I think this is why he was able to move on quickly to his current wife Andrea. They got married 2 years after my mom died. It was weird at first for me to see our dad with someone else, but she's honestly really cool, and I've never seen him so happy. Even before my mom was sick, I don't think they ever really had the chemistry he has with Andrea. He's literally always smiling when she's around. It took me some time to get used to Andrea being part of my family, but now she's become an integral part of it. And I'm so thankful she's taking a real grandmother role to my 2 kids, even if she's just related to them by marriage. Katie was never able to get over seeing my dad move on, and to this day won't acknowledge her as part of our family. While she doesn't say rude things directly to her, she is very curt and honestly comes off super catty with her. Anyway, so now that she's engaged and starting to plan her wedding, my dad, who is well off, has always said he'd pay for our weddings. He paid for most of mine and was willing to pay for all of Katie's. That is, until Katie said she wouldn't allow Andrea at her wedding as she thought it was an insult to our mom. My dad has withdrawn his offer to pay for the wedding or attend unless his wife is invited. I find this 100% reasonable as Andrea's never done anything wrong or bad to us. This isn't the case of an evil stepmother. It's just an adult not willing to let her father move on. Katie and her husband asked me to be a groomsman, and for my son to be a ring bearer and daughter to be a flower girl. And initially I said yes, but now with all this drama, I just don't want to anymore. I feel like I'd be enabling a grown woman being unnecessarily mean to Andrea for no reason, who at this point I 100% consider family. I've gotten mixed feedback from my friend group about this decision, so I'd be interested to hear. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Katie gets to marry the man of her dreams, but Dad isn't allowed to marry ever again because his first wife died. He has the absolute right to withdraw financial support, and you're right to agree with him. Good for him standing up for his wife rather than allowing his daughter to let her drama win. She's trying to coerce her dad into leaving his wife at home for his daughter's wedding. Now, Casey's learning that her choices have consequences. Your sister is a fully fledged adult. She's had years to seek out the help she needs to move through her grief. She has a right to invite anyone she wants at her wedding, but she should expect the consequences. Why are you inserting yourself into this drama? Your sister has every right to invite whoever she likes. Your dad has the right to spend his money how he likes. Neither has anything to do with you. And you are the idiot for using your sister's wedding as the time to take some stance on this. This is none of your business, and you should stay out of it. Just because you feel one way about your dad moving on and his marriage doesn't mean your sister will. Just because you are both living out of the house doesn't mean that your sister didn't need your dad's support. I invited my sister and mother on a girls' road trip, but excluded my sister-in-law due to her not driving. I have 3 brothers and my oldest brother is the only one married. Let's call my sister-in-law Jenny. Jenny is fine overall, we don't have much in common, but she hasn't given anyone any problems. Jenny doesn't drive due to her anxiety. This was explained to us by our brother before we met her, and to be kind. Just being in the car makes her jittery. She gets really anxious easily and has stepped out of events before. This hasn't been an issue. Usually she'll just leave with my brother, calm down and come back to the event. We only have one case of another family member who needed to pick her up since she couldn't drive. I wanted to go on a road trip across the USA. It's a ton of driving, even if we're only hitting one of the coasts. This means a lot of driving and stuck in the car. We made a driving schedule to make it easier so not one person is driving all the time. Due to all these factors, we didn't invite Jenny. She can't help with driving, and we don't need to be in a car with someone who is stressed and anxious for hours on end. In the big group chat, I texted that I wouldn't be able to go to a family event due to the trip. I got a call from my brother, and he asks why his wife wasn't invited, and I explained the above reason. He told her, and now both are angry with me. Am I the idiot? My mom and sister thinks this is stupid, and in their words they wouldn't invite someone who clearly would be miserable stuck in a car. Not the idiot. It's like taking an arachnophobe to a spider petting zoo. You had a valid reason not to invite. Also, why did they call to understand why she wasn't invited? I mean, just because she's your sister-in-law doesn't mean she has to go on all trips and vacations. What if this was a mother-daughter trip? Yeah, exactly. When my friends didn't invite me to go with them when they went to a spider-themed Halloween thing at the local zoo, I was absolutely fine with that decision. I wished them fun and let it go. I would not set foot in a spider petting zoo at night to hold them. Screw that. Sister-in-law doesn't like riding in cars. No big deal. Don't go on a coast-to-coast road trip. I don't understand people like your sister-in-law. I have anxiety, and if people in my family were going on a trip that sounded like a triggering nightmare, I would say cool, send me pics. Geez, too much drama over nothing. My husband 28 and I 30 have a twin son. Both my husband and I come from a mixed race background. My mother is a brown South Asian woman, while my father is a white Eastern European man. My husband comes from a Central American family that has interracial parents going back centuries. Our son has clear ethnic features, but is much paler than my husband and I. He may appear white passing from a distance. 2 out of 4 of his grandparents also have white skin, which is no surprise to us. Some days ago, we were out grocery shopping when we ran into my son's classmate, her younger sister, and their parents. We struck up some small talk with the parents while our kids talked when the younger sister remarked that my son looks weird. Her parents looked mortified, but neither my husband nor myself took offense. She seemed about 6 years old, and children have little to no filter. We also live in a predominantly white European country. I can tell that it came from a place of curiosity rather than a place of ill intent. I told this little girl something like, "Think about your grandparents. They all look very similar, don't they?" Well, my son's grandparents all look very different. That means my son has 4 very different faces making up his own. She seemed a little confused, and I will admit that I've never been very good at kid talking. But she seemed very interested and thanked me. The mother, however, was not appreciative. She told me that it was extremely rude of me to have that kind of conversation with someone else's child, and that I should have let her and her partner do it on their own accord. I apologized and explained to her that I didn't mean to interfere with their parenting, but that I could tell her young girl was genuinely curious. She again reiterated that this was a conversation that the parents of the child should have, and to stay out of it. I asked her, "Well, if it was up to you, then when would you have this conversation with your child? Because mixed and non-white people will exist even when you think your child isn't ready to learn about them." My response seemed to anger her quite a bit, but her partner told her to drop it. We said our goodbyes and went on with our day. According to my son, his classmate has since been very wary of him. According to him, she acts as if he's personally wronged her, despite the catalyst most likely being our interaction at the store. I'm very sad that this seems to have caused issues in the classroom, and it's causing my boy a fair bit of distress too. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Oh my goodness, I'm a glow-in-the-dark Caucasian, predominantly Irish. My ex-husband is African American and Native American, so of course my kids don't look exactly like him or me. I hate to tell the mother of this child that probably 60% of the world's population is mixed. I'd be very interested to know what the mother would tell her that is so different than what you did. "Auntie, your kid looks weird." OMG, if my kid said that, I would cringe and be so relieved that Op was understanding and provided such a thoughtful response. I'm with you, the mother's response is sus as. I also think the word weird is odd, like, doesn't this kid even watch TV? I get curious about the siblings looking different if she's never seen that before, but surely a tween should at least know different ethnicities exist in the world. Thanks for listening.